Good day and welcome to SCO BRICS Insight. We'll look at what's really going on in the world of the BRICS. Now, it was announced on Friday that the new Russian aircraft, the MS-21, has made its first test certification flights. Now, the aircraft is the first completely Russian-designed and manufactured aircraft since the Soviet era, with all its components, engines, fuselage, avionics, all designed and made in Russia. So it's a complete import substitution aircraft. Now, the Ministry of Industry and Trade of Russia has announced that the first commercial flights of the MS-21 and the SJ-100, which have been designed to replace the imported models like Boeing and Airbus, will take place by the middle of 2025. Now, the aircraft will also be powered by domestically produced engines. Now, this will demonstrate to the West that Russia is not only capable of independently building aircraft, but also manufacturing them entirely without importing any parts from elsewhere, and be without Western engines and components. So as you can understand, Russia is serious. It's now bye-bye Boeing and au revoir Airbus as it plans for its future. Now, the PD-14 engine is all ready for certification and it's on schedule, according to Mr. Alikov, who's in an interview with the Russia 24. And he said that the certification flights for the PD-14 will start at the beginning of next year, with the MS-21's completely import substituted version beginning to flights at the end of March or the beginning of April, with commercial flights taking place by the summer. Now, the MS-21 is already in operation, including with the PD-14 engine, and its delivery was due to commence, as we know, but that was because these were some of the parts were actually imported, and because of Western sanctions that was allowed, but now they've decided that they want the import substitution, the whole aircraft, including all the composites, etc. So they're replacing all the old parts that were basically imports, and now with the new without Western components, it has to undergo the serious rigorous certification test. So basically you've got a serious aircraft that's pretty much there, but there's a few components, etc. has to be changed and will be changed. And once the documentation for that has been received, there'll be immediate operational deployment of the aircraft. As each new import substitution system is installed, the airline flies to test it. And they've committed to testing 100% import substitution aircraft by the end of the year, now that all the components have been fully sourced domestically. And that'll be the final stage of the certification flight test, said Roman Gusarov, who's the head of Avia.ru. Now, the head of the Ministry of Industry and Trade also confirmed plans to start the certification of flights of the short-haul SJ-100 with the domestic PD-8 engine next year. In contrast to the MS-21, which for the domestic PD-14 engine was developed, the smaller PD-8 is actually only in its development phase. Now, before I continue, I'd like to make an appeal. If you like and enjoy my videos, you can help me fund the channel and my website scobricsinsight.com to further develop them. You can do this by making a small donation, which I would greatly appreciate, and you can do that by clicking on the thanks button at the bottom of the video screen. Everybody who does donate gets a personal thank you, and I'm thanking you all now just for watching, because I do appreciate every viewer, and I also love to hear your comments and read your comments, particularly on aspects of what's going on here. Now, there were numerous complex issues with the individual units, and they've now been resolved. And it's anticipated that transition to a flying laboratory this month will streamline the testing process and allow all the testing to really be moved to the airworthiness. Naturally, next year the objective is to conduct tests on the new SS Superjet, according to Alikhanov. Russia also plans to develop a series of high thrust engines, one of which is the PD-35, which is scheduled for use on a Russian planned wide-bodied aircraft for 2030 onwards. Now, the most important consideration here is the choice of materials. mean, there's been a number of research and development projects that have already been concluded. This is a long-term project and they're continuing with it. But funding has already been granted by the government and it's been done into the draft budget. I mean, in terms of the MS-21, production has reached the 10-unit limit for the year, and that's only going to grow. I mean, serial production has started and the aircraft are not being delivered, but they're being stockpiled until they're transferred to the airlines. And once they've all been fully certified, they're basically just putting them in storage and waiting for the completion of all the certification tests. When that's done, the documentation's in place, the aircraft will be transferred to airlines and they will start flying. And I'm certainly looking forward to flying on the new MS-21. Now, it's anticipated that airlines will get at least 10 aircraft by the middle of 2025, with the same number being potentially assembled during that year. Now, the production facilities are capable of producing 36 aircraft per year, but that's going to take some time. It'll probably take about 3 years to get to 36 per year, given the scaling up that needs to be done. Now, should the expected demand for these aircraft increase, and I think it will, production in Irkutsk, which is in the far east and north of Russia, will be up to 72 units per year, that's going to take even more. That will probably be by 2030. The key consideration is the existence of demand. Now, as long as foreign-made planes remain in operation, like the old Boeings and well, they're not actually that old. Russia's got one of the youngest fleets of Boeings and Airbuses around, actually. Much younger than British Airways, for example. That is going to take another 10 to 15 years. But over time, the foreign-made planes will be replaced by the domestic, I think. And the situation regarding the SJ100 is more complex. I mean, firstly, the MS-21 has got a certified PD-14 engine, where the engine for the SJ100 is still in development. Plus, the Superjet requires the import substitution of a larger number of components than the MS-21 did. I mean, the Superjet was originally composed predominantly of imported components, with the exception of the hardware itself and the heat exchangers, whereas the MS-21 was designed with the objective of being 50-50. Consequently, the scope of the work on the SJ100 is considerably more expensive and extensive. I mean, the SJ100 was developed several years ago, and that was the first aircraft produced in Russia since the Soviet Union collapsed. And the challenge was to achieve this and, work with international collaboration in the aviation industry. Russia wanted to actually work with others, whereas the MS-21 was developed using the experience, and the decision was undertaken to produce both a domestic engine and domestic component for it, because you could see which way the wind was blowing. I mean, the West have never been reliable partners. I mean, Europe was okay, but now it's completely run by the US. There's no point. So there's no issues with the PDA engine, as it's essentially a scaled down version of the PD-14. Now, the PD-35 for the wide body, which is the largest, is a long-term development. We're talking a wide-bodied airliner here, and that takes some time to develop. And it's a highly sophisticated piece of machinery. I mean, the engine alone, its diameter is 3 meters, and that's a time-consuming process to develop the significant number of new technologies that currently don't exist in Russia. But as we saw with turbines, when jet engines are much the same as turbines, where there's a will, there's a way. So the lack of the domestically produced wide-body aircraft is not critical. I mean, there's 500 narrow-body aircraft, then you only need 100 wide-bodies, and even then, not necessarily so much. And the narrow-body aircraft still have the capability to fly the longer distances, such as to the Russian Far East, with either one or no stopovers. I mean, even though there's a shortage of wide-bodied aircraft to fly long distances, these smaller, just 2 stops, no problem. I mean, it's of utmost importance for Russia to have its own line of aircraft with its domestic engines and its fully imported import substituted components. Now, there are, as we know, two main manufacturers in the world, the American Boeing and the European Airbus, and it's just not feasible to work with these suppliers anymore. They are unreliable and they are not very friendly. Now, apart from Embraer, which is not a major producer, no other country manufactures aircraft. China is the only country that does, and it's Chinese, the version of the narrow-body jet like the MS-21 is made from Western components and has Western engines. So China's in a particularly susceptible mode to what Russia went through, and if the US puts on sanctions on them, they are going to have significant problems, just like Russia had. And they really need to start talking to Russia and work together so that they have domestically produced aircraft, or at least produced by countries that are not unfriendly. They can't produce their own engines. Russia can. They've done it with their own fighter jets. They've done it with their other aircraft, etc. So to BRICS airline and BRICS aviation industry, it needs to work together with the other BRICS to make sure that they are not reliant on the unfriendly and unwelcome West. Thank you for watching. Please like and share and subscribe. If you want to help me out, press the thanks button at the bottom of the screen. Make a small donation. Don't forget to share, and I'll see you all again soon. Don't forget the comments. See you soon. Bye.